So Preneurs, don't lower your standards, raise them. Why? Because you deserve the best, not the worst. Let's talk about why. Let's get right into it. So welcome back, Preneurs. Today's conversation is about your life, your lifestyle. And when I'm talking about your life is your life is a reflection right now of your current standards. So let's raise them because you deserve the best. What do you think about that? I think you deserve the best. And if you're watching this, I think you do too as well. So let me share a couple of different topics. I have 9 for you that were able to help me start increasing my lifestyle to a different level because I simply raised my standards. Okay, so let's get right into exactly what that looks like. So number 1 is I used to always show up late to everywhere. Like I had to start changing my clocks 20 minutes earlier so I can start making sure I was on time. So what's the biggest thing for you? Maybe for you that helped me was I changed my clocks again to, I just mentioned 20 minutes earlier, but I started showing up to places 20 minutes earlier. Because you already heard the cliche statement, if you show up on time, you're late, but if you show up 15 minutes earlier, you're on time. So why not show up 20 minutes earlier so your standards at a whole different level? It'll make you unique. So I think that's a big one. And then also what it helps you to do, it helps you relieve a lot of stress because there's a lot of things that happen. Like maybe there's an accident or, maybe you had to help the kid with something. There's always variables that happen. So if you just give yourself that 20-minute buffer for any type of mishaps, it actually can help you as well relieve a lot of stress. Number 2 is get rid of toxic relationships. I cannot tell you how big this one is. I actually shot a video on this on toxic relationships. Maybe it'll pop up on the screen as well. And I highly recommend you watch it so you can actually identify if you have toxic relationships because they can actually be stealing energy from you and actually make you unproductive in regards to your goals and dreams versus being productive. But when you remove these, literally it's like a weight removed off of you. Okay, instead of like walking around, can you imagine walking around with literally 20-pound dumbbells in your hands all day, just walking around all day? Like, yeah, 20 pounds is pretty easy to lift like for the first couple minutes, but if you walked around all day with 20-pound dumbbells in your hand, like those 20-pound dumbbells will start becoming very heavy for you. So that's what it is with toxic relationships. They start to becoming very heavy and it's an unnecessary weight that you're carrying. You just gotta let it go. All right, just let it go for yourself because it's not even productive in the first place. Number 3 is stop eating fast food. Now, usually, especially when you're working late, you say, man, what's open right now? McDonald's, KFC, Cane's, whatever it may be, In-N-Out, and it all smells good, especially when you're driving by. It smells good, but it ain't good for you, right? So all that, breads and sugars, all that stuff in the fast food, and it's not very healthy or clean. And it positions you actually become very sluggish, and it really pulls you down. It really pulls your energy down. It eats away from your energy, not just today, but for the next day as well, because you have to recover for eating fast food. There's a recovery for it. It's almost like going to the bar and drinking a little too much and you get a hangover, you have to recover from that, right? I'm not saying I'm doing that, I'm just saying that's an analogy for you. But my point of bringing that up is fast food, you will have to recover, is really gonna steal away from you and your standards. So I will remove that from you if you can. The other one is read more, okay? This was something that I'll never finish a book. Like, now I'm able to finish books, but I always had that issue where, my standards were very low because I would open up the book, I would start reading it, I'm like, oh, this is so good. And then I would literally get distracted, like, oh, birdie, like, sky's blue, whenever it happens, something like that. And I'll literally forget the book that I was even reading, right? So I would never go from cover to cover until I say, you know what, I want my lifestyle to change. Let's start raising my standards. Let's start finishing books from cover to cover. And once I started finishing books to cover, it's interesting what happens is that I started thinking on a whole different level. I was able to process issues at a whole different level. I was able to lead at a whole different level, and it helped literally change my whole life. And because that standard raised for me. Number 5, if I could raise my standards in, was start exercising, right? So I would start a workout. Because I was an athlete prior to, being in business for myself. So we would always work out. That was just something, I normally did. I had this thing called muscle memory, right? But what I started doing after being an athlete, after starting getting a real world, started being a parent, started, being a husband and all those different things, running a family, I was like, I'm gonna exercise when I feel like it, right? So I would start to exercise, and then 2 weeks later, I'm not doing it anymore. I would start something where I never finish. I keep starting and not finishing, starting and not finishing. And that really started affecting my identity. Why? Because I'm like, I'm not finishing. I'm not doing anything to completion. All right. And that's really going to mess you up. So don't just start an exercise. I highly recommend that you position yourself to finish it. So if it's an 8-week course, then you finish the 8-week course. If it's a 4-week exercise course, then you finish the 4-week. Whatever it is, do it to completion with discipline. Once I start doing that, all my standards start raising, everything started raising all over my body. Number 6 is following through. Following through was such a big one because I would say things that my body would not actually follow through on. So I would be like, here, I'm gonna go do this, but I wouldn't do it. So I never kept my word. And that is a big deal because then what starts to happen is you don't start keeping your word to yourself. And that means that every time you start saying something, you don't have confidence in what you're saying. You're not convicting what you're saying anymore. And that's a worse position for a leader. So once I start following through on what I said I was gonna do, I'm talking about even the smallest little things. Like I'm going to wake up at 7 a.m., not 7:01, not 7:05, not 7:10, not hit the snooze button. I'm gonna wake up at 7. And you actually wake up, you follow through. And you literally, what it helps with you is it helps your identity. It starts to increase into a different level because you are controlling, again, what you said you're going to do. So follow through. That brings another one, which is number 7, creating value. Now we all work in some type of environment. Maybe again, you lead a department. Maybe you run your own business. Maybe you're an employee in a different sector. Whatever it is for you, that you're creating value in the environment that you're in. Okay, so how can you create value? Whatever you can do to serve, whatever you can do to make sure that environment increases to a different level, that you go and do that, you need to maximize it. Why? Because if people don't feel that you are missing, like there's nothing, that no one's looking around saying, man, I don't even care if you're here, that means you haven't created any value. People should be missing you when you're not around. They should notice when you're not around. What people notice if you're not around in the environments that you're in. If that is true, that means there's not enough value. You need to create what? Higher standards for yourself in the environment that you're in. Number 8, be in service. Okay? Everyone's always today looking for someone to serve them. Serve me, serve me, serve me. No, how can you serve someone else? How can I maximize someone else's life to the fullest? So be in more service of others, because if you give, you automatically receive. If you're always looking to receive, you're not going to be able to, unfortunately, be able to give, and it actually blocks the law. Okay, so whatever you want, you got to give it first. If you want more love, give love first. Okay, if you want more money, give more money first. A lot of people say, why you give money? Yes, it's a law. You give, you receive. This is literally how it works. So be in more service. Once you go against that law, unfortunately, everything goes against you. All right. And I was like, always wondering, I was like, why is my life not increasing to a different level? Why is this? I feel like almost like a plateau, kind of stuck. It's because I was not in service. Okay, I was looking to be served. It's more of an entitlement versus being in a position to be able to exercise a giving spirit. So that's number 8. And the last one is simple. Once I figured this one out, my standards increased to a whole different level. I no longer accepted the bullshit. Okay, people give me excuses. People give me all these different things on why they couldn't help, or why they couldn't help us get to the next level of our business, or help us with the team, or anything like that. I said, you know what? I'm no longer going to lower my standards and let you pull me down, anyone anymore, because I'm not going to dim my light just to make you feel comfortable. Once you don't accept any type of BS around you anymore, everything changes. Because you say, you know what? I don't want to be the same person I've always been. I'm ready to go to the next version of myself. And then what happens is either the people that were on that last level increase with you, or unfortunately they decide to stay there, but you can no longer stay there anymore. Why? Because you just decided to raise your standards. So if you do that, I promise you everything around you is going to increase. So Preneurs, go and attack another one, another leader, another entrepreneur, someone else that says, you know what? I want to increase my standards to a different level. Why? Because we believe you deserve the best, and we want you to increase your life on a daily basis, minimum 1%, so you can increase your profit, your passion, and your purpose, and hope to see you guys on the next video.